Yeah, so before I started the program, my revenue was about 4,000 a month. And then when I added the second property in July, I've hit around 7,000. And then after our coaching in September, the month of October, that's when I hit 10,000 for revenue. And that was like my highest month ever.
3K increase first month.
Yeah.
I want to introduce today's video. I made some mistakes on the Airbnb that I'm walking around right now. It's multi-purpose. It's what I call a lifestyle asset. We get to use it, we get to enjoy it, but we make money with it. Now we stay in the property over there, which for those of you who are loyal to the channel, you've already seen this place a couple of times, somewhere around 8 months of the year. That property will generate for me around $50,000, even with 3 months of 2020 being shut down due to the pandemic. Simultaneously, we come out here and we have these 2 rigs that we're able to use that we can stay in or travel with whenever the property is being rented. Now somebody's using the house as we speak, and they're here for an extended period of time. They're renting for 9 days. We had a family stay in there 3 days prior to them, and altogether we're gonna end up bringing in almost $5,000 from those 2 guests. And then due to premium holiday pricing at the end of December, we'll make another $5,000 on a 1-week stay. So, you know, $50,000 altogether. We spent about $250 in cash for the down payment, amenities and updates, being able to obviously afford a rig that we can stay in and so forth. So, you know, $50,000 on 250, 20% cash on cash return, not bad. But you can do a lot better than that. And here's the thing, anytime I start a business, I try to get involved with the communities in that industry. When I expanded my real estate investing into short-term rentals in March of 2019, I jumped all over the Facebook pages and I started actively reaching out to experts to help me. That included Sean Rocky Jeech from the Airbnb Automated YouTube channel. I asked for help from Richard Fertig from Short Term Rental University, also a big name here on YouTube. And I started obsessing over the various content and the Facebook groups. I recognize the value that people who have tremendously more experience than me and are much further ahead in their businesses can offer me. One day in August, I opened up Facebook and I saw a post from a couple that were boasting that they had already hit over 1,000 bookings through their short-term rental business, and not too many less than that in 5-star reviews within their first year and 10 months in the business. So I obviously automatically immediately DM'd them and I asked if they'd be willing to unpack their business model, their results, and go into detail about it here on the channel. And they graciously agreed to do that. Here's what we learned during the first interview that I did with them in September. And I'm gonna put the link to that in the description. Make sure you check it out. Watch the entire thing. They told me that they had 12 properties under management by April of 2020. So that would have been roughly 18 months in from them starting the business. By the time we were speaking, which was 5 months after that, they had a total of 16. They had 4 more. They told me that they planned to have 25 properties in their portfolio by the end of the year, and they were on pace to break $1 million in revenue through 2020. Now, the most important detail to this is that it required only a fraction of the amount of money and credit that they would have needed if they were buying these properties themselves, either for long-term rentals or even for short-term rentals. In fact, they don't have any mortgages or debts on most of these homes. And they're doing this through a revolutionary strategy called short-term rental partnerships. They're gonna make $1 million this year, if they're still on pace, during their second year in business, which is almost unheard of, with relatively little money out of pocket and no previous experience in the industry. Now look, I've found some incredible businesses and business models over the past few years. Many of them I bring to you guys here for your consideration. And yet I have consistently said over the last couple of months that if I had to start over from scratch, I would immediately reach out to Michael and Katrina and dive headfirst into this business model. There's a very valid argument that I messed up my short-term rental business doing it the way that I did instead of doing it the way that they do. For the amount of time and money that I spent, I'm positive that I would have 10 to 20 times the amount of results that I have so far. And you know, that's why I'm introducing this to you guys. And we're gonna go ahead and take a look at a real life example of somebody that took advantage of this after our first interview. And we're gonna see just how successful they've been and what some of the hurdles they've faced include, so you can decide whether or not this is a model that you wanna get into. It's a great life. Short-term renting is one of the best things I ever did for myself. Hopefully it'll play a role in your success as well. Let's jump into it.
I'd love to know, based on where you guys were in September, what type of progress you've made since then. I know your goal was to hit 25 doors following that conversation. Where are we at now? I know you were at 16 when we spoke, right?
Yeah, so
It's been busy.
it's been so busy.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, like we got married back in August, right? I think we said that in the last one.
Yeah.
I don't think our honeymoon is like our business because we're so busy in it. And so we've grown up to 23 units now.
23? Wow.
23. And we have 28 in like the backlog, I guess you could call it right now, that we're just trying to push through. So like a few of them like are getting renovations. The owners are actually renovating houses for us to have it prepped and ready for us to short-term rental. And so
a few people, we said we're going to have to get to you in January because our interior designer, she's a very important member of our team. She's like literally about to have a baby like any day now. So
yeah,
we just said we can't do any more until the new year. So just like, you know,
chill,
enjoy Christmas and we'll get back to you. But since we filmed that interview, so I think at that point we were at around 655,000 since we'd started. And just last week we crossed over the 1 million mark. So
for our business.
Unbelievable. Yeah. That was going to be my question, is whether or not we saw that 7 figures yet.
We have.
Yeah.
We're pretty excited.
Unbelievable.
It's really, really cool.
Congratulations, you two. So guys, I want to stop for a minute and give people the opportunity to reach out to you if they have any questions, if they're considering building a business, if they're serious about building a business and they like the idea of being able to hit $1 million in under 2 years, if they like the idea of short-term rentals, if it's appealing to not necessarily have to involve the downsides of acquiring mortgages and overusing credit, then they can reach out to you at BNB, the letters, the acronym BNB Bootcamp at VIPfinancialeducation.com. We'll put that email address in the description for you guys as well. But I wanted to throw that email out there early in this conversation so that if people don't feel like it's necessary to sit and listen to some of the social evidence that you guys are getting on your own, as well as Guile, our next guest here. And I'm calling this portion of the segment the pudding pack. Okay. Now the pudding pack is proof in the pudding. I want to know how it works. I want to see results. I don't like people just sitting there making empty promises. To me, it's seeing people living and breathing it that gets me the most excited. So Guile, you're a part of the pudding pack, whether you want to be or not. And well, at least we're trying to find out whether or not you are. That's the purpose of the call today. And that's where I said, you know, I want to sit with participants and I really want to get tough questions answered so that people who might later regret the decision to pursue something, they're spared the time and money. People shouldn't move forward if it's going to result in disappointment. One part of the pudding pack concept that I'm coming up with is this scholarship concept. And one thing I'm going to start asking for from our affiliates or our sponsors is that they open up scholarships to people who are maybe on a contest level where they can win a membership and then are featured throughout in order to showcase their results. That's something we'll talk more about on the channel. Make sure you're a subscriber. Drop a like on this video, guys, if you do like the idea of us perhaps opening up membership options, because the price tag of this membership is going up. It's already gone up once. It's going to keep going up. And if it's up to me, these guys would be charging a lot more than they are just based on the value that I've seen. Today, it's my understanding that we're sitting with Guile. And Guile is a recent participant of Michael and Katrina's boot camp. It's always important to me to get, you know, one of these pudding pack people in here early in their experience to kind of give us the, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what they've been going through and talk a little bit about what they've experienced with the curtain being pulled back and the blueprint they've been shown and whether or not the business they're building was what they were expecting. So that's what we're here to do today. With that being said, Guile, I want to welcome you to the channel. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it. And thank you for Michael and Katrina as well.
How did you find out about them?
I actually found out about them through your YouTube channel. So I was watching your video with Michael and Katrina when you were interviewing them. And at the beginning, you were just kind of laying out the stats of everything that they did, you know, the number of units they had. And I was like, okay, that's pretty good. They're pretty successful. You know, they kind of know what they're doing. And then when you asked them where they're at, where they're located, they said they were in Edmonton. So I live in Edmonton. So that's when my ears stood up. I was like, okay, hold up. Where are they? Like, they're doing this in my backyard? I'm like, all right, I got to listen to these guys. So I watched the whole interview. I think it was about like 45 minutes or something like that. And I was just like, okay, like, I definitely want to like reach out to them. And like that, I was actually watching it in bed at like 2 in the morning. So I'm like, I'm going to email them in the morning when I get up And like I emailed them first thing in the morning and reached out to them.
And you look like you're a young guy. How old are you?
I'm 32 years old, actually. So
okay.
Fairly young.
You're wearing it well.
Yeah, thanks.
So tell me a little bit about what you do for a living, technically.
So what I do for a living, I'm an iron worker, journeyman iron worker by trade. I've been working in the oil fields, in construction for the last about 6 years or so. And I've dabbled in different entrepreneur endeavors. Some worked out for a bit, some did it. So that's kind of like what I do.
And then you've just had an interest in short-term rentals for a while?
Yeah, I always believe real estate is one of the ways to build wealth. So I was always trying to find a way to get into real estate, you know, whether it's try to buy an investment property or, you know, getting some kind of land and some kind of real estate income coming in. So Airbnb was something I was always interested in. And it's something that you can do, especially with rental arbitrage, with little money down or no money down. So I started that in December 2019 when I first got my first property. And then it's just been trying to build it from there.
How many properties do you manage now?
Right now, I have 2 properties and, you know, looking to build more properties. And thanks to Michael and Katrina, I feel a lot more comfortable now with the system that we put in place and all the training. And now I know how to scale it. And I think that was my biggest challenge at the beginning. I had 1 property and it was doing fairly well. And then I added a second property, and then
with their help, or you had the second one before you came into the membership?
I had the second one before I came into the membership.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, I realized that with the second one, what I was doing, I couldn't grow any further than maybe a third one because I was all in, hands-on, you know, doing everything myself. And it took a lot of my time. And I was like, okay, how can I scale this? And then when I heard that they had 14, I'm like, they know something I don't know. They're doing something I'm not doing because there's no way I can do 14 doing it the way I'm doing it now.
So you watched the video for the first time roughly when? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like September 16th, I think, because I emailed them.
So shortly after we posted it then?
Yeah.
Okay. You decided to enroll how quickly after you saw it? I mean, I know you sent them an email. Did you jump right in right away?
Yeah, I jumped right in right away. I emailed them, and then they got back to me like right away. And then we had a quick conversation over the phone, and then they kind of broke down what their coaching and mentorship program entailed. And everything they told me just sounded right. You know, it sounded good. You know, I was like, okay, I'm all in. I was actually, the only thing that was holding me back is because I had put aside the capital to get a third property. So I was like, do I do the coaching or do I get the third property and just kind of like, you know, put the coaching off till later on? So, and then I was like, okay, because of like the whole pandemic and everything like that, I was like, you know what, let me hold off on the third property because I don't know how the market's going right now. And let me take the coaching. And then from there, I'll be able to use what I learned and then get that third property that I was lining myself up to do.
Okay. And the viewers should know that Michael and Katrina generally charge just shy of 12 grand. We'll call it 12 grand. It's $11,997. They were gracious enough to offer our audience members a VIP discount, which I always try and ask for, which basically cut the cost in half when you enrolled. Now, that was for the first round. And the prices have since increased. They've gone from $6,000 to now $8,000. And that's the going rate for the VIP discount, which knocks down from their standard cost. That price, I'm going to keep pushing for them to increase because they should. They deserve more money for what they're doing, in my opinion. But I'm trying to validate that. I'm validating my opinion through your experience here today, Guile. Okay. So you spent roughly $6,000 to enroll. You decided to start the business because you felt stuck. You felt like, hey, you'd grown to sort of your maximum capacity of 2 units. You wanted obviously more than that. You thought, okay, I might be able to squeak out a third one with what I've got saved, or I can take a portion of my savings and invest it into their coaching, which was what your decision was. My guess is you were wanting to get out of that coaching, the shortcuts, and whatever their blueprint was, because as you said, they knew something you didn't, right? They had sort of figured out how to cross over into those double digit doors versus where you were sort of feeling stuck. Am I all caught up at the moment?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
And so here we are today, right? Fast forward a couple of months.
Yeah.
How many hours have you put in so far? Give me kind of a ballpark. If you had to sort of estimate what you're doing on average per week, what would you estimate you're at?
On average per week, like before in August, like I got laid off in August. So before I was working a full-time job.
Okay.
While I was running the Airbnb. And then
sorry to hear that.
It's okay. It's part of the trade. You know, once the project comes to an end, we get laid off and then we move on to the next project. Okay. And it was a blessing at the same time because it allowed me to have that free time. At the end of August, I got laid off and I got in tune with Mike and Katrina in mid-September. So I was able to go all in on the coaching, on the mentorship, and to take action right away. So that was my plan, is to go all in, take action right away. And then when I go back to work, I'll have a system that's automated. So in terms of hours that I was putting in, probably like around, 5 to 8 hours a day, learning as much as I could right at the beginning and just taking in all the information and applying it right away. Anytime we had a call.
If you still had your full-time job, were those hours that you could have done any time of the day?
Yeah.
So these were not hours that had to be done through typical business hours that would have interfered if you had, say, another job. Say somebody that's looking at doing this as a side hustle and they want to grow out of their existing career. Do you think that would be possible with the type of efforts that you're putting in right now as far as day-to-day tasks?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the day-to-day tasks, it was about maybe 2 to 3 hours a day. But I was doing more on top of that to learn and to better what I was doing. So they would
studying,
exactly.
Research, consuming content.
Yeah.
Okay. Give us a sense of some of the biggest challenges that you've had.
I would say the biggest challenge that I've had would be, the first one would be bringing on cleaning staff, like finding additional cleaning staff. I think that's one of the most difficult aspect of it, because initially I was doing most of the cleaning myself in terms of turning over the units, and I had tried different cleaners and sometimes they're not reliable or they don't do a good enough job. So it took me a while until I found one cleaner that she was pretty good and she was reliable and she did a good enough job. And then
I had that same issue.
It was trying to find additional cleaners that would, keep that standard of quality for the guest experience to be good. Mm-hmm. So that was the biggest challenge. And also not only finding the cleaner, the cleaning costs as well. Michael and Katrina helped me bring down my cleaning costs and find a way to do that. That was the biggest hurdle that I had, and they definitely helped me with that.
Is there a specific type of person that you think would do better with this than others? What would you consider some of the bigger shortcomings? Is it social skills? Is it phone skills? Is it sales skills? Tell me a little bit about what you think strengths and weaknesses might look like for somebody.
I think it definitely helps if you have some kind of sales skills.
Did you have a sales background?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So I did have a little bit of sales background. I did some sales. I did actually door-to-door sales for HVAC systems.
Man, that's the best kind.
Oh yeah, that is like the toughest sales you can do. You get people slamming the door in your face.
Months. It's true,
right? Exactly.
Well, because I think people are mostly scared of rejection.
Exactly.
And what door-to-door will teach you is that your fears are always bigger than reality.
Exactly.
Even when you get the worst case and somebody does slam the door in your face,
you
sort of walk away and go, hey, I'm still alive. That wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, right? But you're still just as terrified of it the next day as you were the day. It's so weird.
It is.
So that's good. So you definitely had some thicker skin.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't get that experience. Okay.
And I think that's important because, when you're approaching whether a landlord and you're trying to convince them to Airbnb their place, a lot of people are just afraid to even have that conversation to begin with. And I remember when I first had that conversation with a few landlords, I was nervous and afraid too, but I did it anyways. Some of them went well, some of them didn't. And I learned from it and I just kept trying.
So you obviously had some entry-level experience coming into short-term rental industry and running your own business before you met Michael and Katrina. Now that you've seen, again, more behind the scenes and what they're all about, what they bring to the table, tell me what your realistic goals are now. I mean, coming in and saying, hey, 3 is going to be a stretch, but I think I can pull it off. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're more equipped with tools than you were before, that you think you could scale this out bigger than you would have been able to?
Absolutely. Like I spoke with Michael and Katrina at the beginning of our mentorship program, and they asked me, like, what's your goal? And like, how many properties do you want to get to? Like, how much money do you want to make? And we discussed that in full detail. And for me, 3 is definitely realistic. And now with the system that I've learned and that I've implemented, I feel that, by the end of 2021, my goal is to get to about, 5 or 6 properties.
By the end of 2021?
Yeah.
Okay. And you feel like you wouldn't have been at that level on your own?
No, I don't. I think I still had a block because I knew I can get to 3, but after that, I was like, okay, I need to find a system to automate it. I need to figure out how to scale it, and I just didn't have the answer. And that's why I was searching. That's why I was watching the different videos and YouTube channels, trying to figure out how exactly other people were doing it.
So let's start back at the beginning with them and their system. When you first reached out, and again, if people want to reach out to Michael and Katrina, they can do that through the email address, BNB Bootcamp @VIPfinancialeducation.com. It's a long one. It'll be in the description. Send them an email with your first and last name and your specific contact information, and they'll organize a time where you guys can have a quick conversation. Only do that if you're serious. Don't waste their time, please. But if you are serious and you want more information, my question is always, did they pressure you into signing up for anything? Did you feel like your arm was being twisted or that you were being hard sold? And were they honest about expectations now that you've actually participated in the program? Are you getting what you thought you were paying for?
Yeah, absolutely. There was no pressure to begin with. The conversation was genuine. It was honest and it was upfront. So I knew everything that they were selling and everything that they're promising, and it was just up to me to make the decision or not. And I knew, coming from a sports background, that you get better and achieve more when you have a good coach and a mentor. You can do it on your own through trial and error, and it's just going to take you longer. But
Michael and Katrina are living proof. I'm not saying they don't have mentors, but they've developed this system DIY, right? And so there is actual proof that you can do this on your own.
Absolutely.
But if somebody asked me if I would want to do it, hell no, I don't want to do this on my own. Just show me how.
Exactly.
Right? Here's the check. Who do I make it out to? Just teach me. So I tend to lean that direction, even though I always say I'm cursed with DIY DNA. It's a real unfortunate weakness of mine, is that I like to plunge into things and just get some strange sense of accomplishment when I get to the other end and mess it up 20 times, but I figure it out. And there's only one person there cheering me on at the end anyway. It's my mom. And it ends up costing me a ton more time and money. It's like, that was the stupidest thing. I should have just asked for help, So in this case, if I were building a career, if I had my livelihood on the line, if it was all about my lifestyle and what I got out of it would change my entire life, I'm done trying to do things by myself. Completely done with it.
Especially when it comes to finances, you want to get a return on your investment as soon as possible. And that's what made me jump into them, because I knew I could get the other property, but I wanted more than just the other property. So, and once I got into it, and now having been gone through it, was it worth it? Absolutely. I've had my best month because of going through this training.
Really?
So, yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Congrats.
Thank you.
So are you moving at an ideal pace from what you were expecting? I mean, would you speed it up or slow it down if you could? I mean, I'm not talking magic wand. I mean, if you had a lot more money, of course you would speed it up. But based on the resources that you have, the skills you've been equipped with, the gifts you've been blessed with, are you feeling like you're moving at an ideal pace?
Yeah. Like right now, business is in a really good position. So I'm just ready to add more properties, essentially.
Okay.
So, Michael and Katrina, again, trying to put them on the spot here. Have they been available and punctual and timely about your meetings and professional, and their follow through has been what they're promising and so forth along the way?
Yeah. We've been in contact, pretty much all the time. I can message them or text them, and they respond right away, and they get back to me with all my questions. We've had our weekly coaching calls, and
so it's once a week that you're meeting. That's the format of the program. You're meeting every week. Okay.
Yeah, it works out that way. So it allows me some time to implement all the stuff that I've learned in that call. And
so you have homework, basically. You've got an action plan that you're left with, you're implementing, and then you're coming back with follow-up questions. Here's what I'm running into. And then they help sort through it with you and collaborate with you.
Yeah. And it's really at your own pace. Like, I chose the once a week because I wanted to implement things right away. But if I wasn't done and I still needed some more time, then we could do the next coaching call in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks or whenever I felt comfortable with it. But I wanted to take action right away. So every time we had a call, I would implement it right away, get everything done right away, and then be like, okay, I'm ready for the next call. Let's do it. So
I think that's about the extent of what I wanted to ask. Do you have anything you want to add, Michael and Katrina, about the type of personality that does the best with this? What is your ideal coaching member? Who do you want to be working with? Who are you going to get the best success from? Tell us a little bit about that avatar.
Yeah. So, Guile's a perfect example of a ideal coaching student because he takes action. That's huge. It's someone that's taking action. We can talk someone's ear off, but if they're not going to actually really soak it in and take that action right away, our coaching is moot, right? We want someone to really take it by the bulls, I guess the cow horns in your background, and just attack it. But I think our biggest thing with coaching students is, I guess, it's the commitment side of it, and also tenacity. Just as Gael was saying at the beginning of how many people he had to approach and, keep going after, not getting discouraged. I think that's one of the biggest things with our coaching program, that we do help guide in at the beginning, especially newcomers coming in and they're having to find a property. It's the tenacity at the beginning and getting your first property. The first one's the hardest. It really is. And then it starts getting easier from there.
Yeah. And
I think that's true with everything.
To Katrina's point, like, there's a big difference between being interested in something and committed to it, right? And we just knew right away from Gael, as soon as he came into the program, just how fast he was putting the material into play, asking very good questions, not feeling shy about reaching out to us for support when he needed it. And, we always tell anyone that is coming in, like, really overuse us on the support side when you need it, because there's nothing worse than someone that feels stuck when, like, the answer is, like, we're sitting right
here,
Yeah. So, not saying we're the one and only answer, but
we'll get you unstuck. Yeah. You don't have to wait until your phone call or a week or 2 weeks away, to answer the question then, because most likely it won't be relevant, right? So it's that one-on-one support, I think, with any kind of coaching is the biggest value.
Yeah. And we're just super impressed with what Gael has achieved. I know he didn't bring up the numbers here. Maybe Gael, so before you started with the program, what did your revenue sort of look like, and where are you at now as far as just the various strategies that we've taken you through?
Yeah. So before I started the program, my revenue, was about $4,000 a month. And then when I added the second property in July, I've hit around 7,000 with the second property. And then after our coaching in September, the month of October, that's when I hit 10,000 for revenue. And that was my highest month ever.
And
so literally a $3K increase first month.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to make it any more clear to people. If you're dumb enough where you don't understand returns on investments, with these types of numbers, this is just not going to be, you shouldn't be in business in the first place. You're going to make your money back in 2 months. Pretty simple. But again, it's because you took the action, you were committed. You gotta connect those dots together. One doesn't work without the other. So
Kudos to you, Guile. Well done, my man. And well done to you too, Michael and Katrina, as usual. We're going to continue to have you guys back and feature your successes. You obviously have so much you can teach. I like having these review calls and like I said, just starting to introduce these pudding pack episodes just because I think there's really only one thing that matters the most to me, and it's results. So the education is fantastic, but you can get obsessed and lost in the studying and the content and never go out and do anything with it. So really, it truly just boils down to taking action before you're going to see any fruit growing on those trees. So great job to all you guys. Really happy to have you here on the channel. Guys, again, one last time, if you like the idea of the results that these three are getting, the one next step for you is to reach out and gather any additional answers to questions you might have. BNB Bootcamp at VIPfinancialeducation.com is the email address. Include a first name, a last name, and a phone number. Michael and Katrina will reach out to you punctually. Guys, it's been one of the best pleasures that I've had in my professional life working alongside you two in such an early amount of time. I mean, obviously, I think, you know, there is sort of a honeymoon period when you're dealing with any level of partnerships, but just from a behind the scenes standpoint, these two are just fantastic. They truly are as genuine and good-hearted as they appear to be on camera, and they really do what they say. And so I'm vouching for you and putting my name next to you as well at this point. But keep up the great work, guys. I encourage you to reach out, see what you can do with this business. And it is truly, I mentioned it, you guys didn't hear, but I mentioned that I had a buddy of mine who asked me, if you lost everything and you had to start over, you know, what would you do? He's in the process of really sorting through. And all I did was copied and pasted a link to our first interview. This is the business model that's the hottest on our radar right now. And I've got a lot of them I'm really impressed by, but this one is the one that really gets me the most jazzed. So I appreciate you guys.
Thanks so much for having us on your channel again. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you, Gael, for
you're killing it.
You're
doing awesome.
We're really proud of what you've
really
achieved.
Proud.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
One thing I will say though,
I
know you were saying 5 to 6 properties by the end of 21. We're going to challenge you a little bit on that, because I think that's a little bit too slow. I think we could get that done by Q1 next year.
Yeah.
Are you up for the challenge?
I'm all for the challenge. Let's make it happen.
Awesome.
I didn't want to be the one to say it. Sounded a little weak to me too.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. You guys keep it up. Happy holidays to everybody. We'll talk to you all again soon. Guile, you mind if we get you back on here a few months from now and see how you're doing?
For sure. I'm down for that.
Okay. All right, everybody. Make it a great day, okay?
You too. Thanks so much.
Take care, everyone.